As we get older, we definitely have been through a lot of experiences in our lives. At 72, I have a lot of experience living life. That's a long time. It goes by so fast. And through that, I have learned some lessons in my life. And I decided to do a video about the lessons I've learned in life. And I started jotting them down. And it was very reflective. We get reflective as we get older, you know. We reflect on the past and we live life forward, but we understand it backwards. And I realized that people have a choice as they reflect back, you know, and as we go through things in our life, we can be bitter or we can get better. And we hopefully learn from lessons in life. Take some self-reflection, and those lessons make us who we are today and give us wisdom. Older people are so wise. And I've known that, and I'm grateful that I learned that early on. There's this wisdom that older people had that I was just in awe of. And now I understand. It's because they lived a lot of life and they learned some lessons. So lesson number 1 is, often we think the worst thing that has happened to us, or the worst decisions we ever made, they were the worst thing. And yet, I have realized and learned the lesson that those things were some of the best things that ever happened to me. You've heard my story, you know, I am a survivor of childhood trauma. And I know today that that is an asset for me when I work with others. It gave me empathy, insight, and some things. And because I have overcome that and worked through that, I use it to help others. And then I remember that fateful day. My first husband assaulted me, my older son. He was drunk. The police came. We were all out in the front yards. It was, I thought, the most horrible day of my life. I was embarrassed, and I was overcome with just where my life had come to that day. And I know today that that very thing was the catalyst that got help for him and got help for me. And that there was this moment in the whole thing flipped from my life going down the drain to getting into recovery and getting help, lots of help. And then I remember years later, I never have really liked living where I live. I always wanted to live somewhere else. And did a little move overseas, lived overseas for a year, just made it worse. And so, you know, I decided, I was single, kids grown, I decided to move to Austin. And I did that. And I was there 6 months, and it just didn't work out. And I came back to where I live today. And I ruined my whole life, financially, spiritually. Just that decision messed up my life. And I was, talk about negative on myself for making that decision. And just, it was such a hard time. It was like a whole different bottom for me. You know what I learned out of that? When you hit bottom, underneath are His everlasting arms. And there's nowhere to go but up. And I rebuilt my life. Taught me I can do that. I can rebuild my life. Even that devastated. I changed more because of that one Was it a bad decision? I certainly learned a lot. And so the worst things that happen to you often become the best things. There's a lot of other things. Those are the major things, the catalyst, I think, that changed me the most and made me who I am today. The next lesson I learned is people's behavior, not their words, tell you who they are. Oh, I was so gullible and naive, and I was a people pleaser and accommodating, and I wanted to avoid conflict, and a well-timed word or a really heartfelt promise, and I believed that. And then the behavior wouldn't line up with what they said. And I would make excuses for their behavior. And instead of looking at their behavior, the lesson I learned is to turn the sound off and listen to the behavior. It will tell you who they really are, how they treat you, if they say what they mean and mean what they say, if they do what they've said they were going to do. That's the behavior. I have this friend that talks, he says, big talky, little doey. And I so relate to that, you know. And so I know that well-timed words or promises made to someone that their behavior doesn't tell me that that's what's going to happen, I'm being manipulated. That was a big lesson for me. The next lesson is what you believe about yourself and others and your environment shape your reality and your future. My beliefs were negative, and I thought I was broken and unlovable and so many of those things. And those beliefs kept me locked up until that fateful day I talked about earlier. And that's when I began to look at those beliefs. And I had people that God sent in my life to challenge those beliefs and to help me see my worth. And, you know, to believe that I'm worthy and that life can be good. In those beliefs, it's self-fulfilling prophecy. Whatever you believe, you become. That's your identity. And it drives your thinking, feeling, behavior, everything. And if I believe I'm broken and that people don't love me, then I'm going to make choices and do behavior that is going to follow that up. And I'll keep getting what I got. You know, keep doing what you did, you keep getting what you got. Driven by your beliefs. They're so important. What you believe. You will never change or grow beyond what you believe about yourself. You will stay stuck. The next most important lesson I've learned is relationships are the most important things in life. I was materialistic. You see, my possessions weren't going to leave me or hurt me, but other people were, and I wouldn't let them in. Today, it's the opposite. I don't use people and love things. I love people and use things. What a shift, and what a lesson. And the most important relationship you can have is the relationship you have with God and yourself. If you have a good, strong relationship with yourself, your other relationships are going to be good and strong. And it's so important to have that spiritual life. To me, it's a lesson learned, that spiritual life. Which brings me to my next lesson, that service, being of service to God and to other people is it's the highest purpose. To be of service. And not to be of service to feel a need to be needed or to feel a part of or accepted or approved of. It's to be of service because I want to give. I want to help others. And not to give from a place of neediness or self-motives, but to give from a place of overflow. And the only way to have an overflow is that love for yourself and to be centered in a spiritual life. Then you can serve properly. It's so important. The next lesson I've learned is to have an attitude of gratitude. I think of the song by Sheryl Crow where it says, not having what you want, it's wanting what you have. That contentment, that lesson of being content happens with gratitude. To be grateful for the relationships I have, for the many materialistic things that I have, that God sent help when I needed it, just the right help at just the right time. It was so important. The name of that song is Soak Up the Sun. So be content. Go out. Soak up the sun. Enjoy your life today and live in gratitude. It's an attitude. And if I have an attitude of gratitude, then I'm going to take care of the things that God has blessed me with. My car, my home, my relationships, myself. Gratitude is an action. Attitude of gratitude. And the last thing I want to talk about is a big lesson I learned. A life well lived doesn't happen without faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. Love for yourself. Love for others. The love you have in your life. How important is love? It's a basic need. Belonging. The need for belonging. And to live in a society where we are instantly connected and to be so disconnected. Love. Love is the answer. Love heals all. Love conquers all. And the greatest of these is love. If you've enjoyed my lessons, I'm going to post up here about the video I made about the best advice I've been given in life. And I've been given some really good advice. And most of all, remember to be you on purpose.